The train creaked quietly as it approached Lucerne. Marina and Alexander stood by the window, gazing at the city that stretched along the shore of Lake Lucerne. The red-tiled roofs of the old buildings, narrow streets, and stone pavements created the feeling as if they had stepped into a medieval painting. Above the city towered Mount Pilatus, its peak lightly shrouded in clouds. "I cannot believe that we are here," Marina whispered, gripping her suitcase. "It is so beautiful, and exactly like in the pictures, but much more alive." Alexander replied, "Do you feel the smell of the lake? It is fresh and cool, as if nature itself is breathing with us." Stepping onto the platform, they immediately felt the special atmosphere of Lucerne. The air was filled with the sense of fresh pastries, the aroma of coffee, and a hint of damp stone that had retained the warmth of the day. People walked slowly, speaking in German, while tourists took photographs against the backdrop of the old buildings. "Let us first walk across the chapel bridge," Marina suggested, pointing to the wooden-covered bridge with a red roof. "It is one of the symbols of the city." Alexander nodded, and they headed through the streets. The bridge looked even more impressive up close. Old wooden beams, carved patterns on the walls, and beneath them, the clear water quietly lapping against the stones. Marina could not resist taking photographs. "Look at these frescoes on the bridge walls," she pointed to the ancient paintings that told stories about the city and its residents. "They are so lively that it feels as if they come to life as you move." "Truly," Alexander replied, leaning down to see the details. "Each scene has its own mood. What craftsmanship!" After crossing the bridge, they arrived at a small square with shops, cafes, and restaurants. The air was filled with the laughter of tourists and the light sound of the wind that wandered through the narrow streets. Marina suggested taking a short break and entering a small cafe they had noticed nearby. She said that she wanted to try traditional Swiss chocolate and asked Alexander if he would join her. He agreed and suggested that they also order some local pastries. They sat at a table outside, enjoying the sun and the bustle of the city. The waiter brought 2 chocolates, decorated with whipped cream and grated chocolate, and a basket with various pastries. "It tastes incredible," Marina said, taking a bite of the chocolate. "I feel as if each flavor tells the story of this place." "And I feel the same way," Alexander agreed. "It is hard to believe that this is reality and not a painting." After breakfast, they continued their walk, delving into narrow streets where the buildings were adorned with flowers in the windows. Marina stopped every few steps, photographing the facades, doors, and even the small fountains in the squares. "I want such memories to remain from every journey. Places, smells, people, everything." "That is exactly what makes travel special," Alexander replied, looking at her with a smile. "And I am glad that we can share this together." They approached the lakeside promenade, where small boats floated peacefully on the water. The sun reflected on the waves, creating a shimmering light effect. Marina sat on a bench, watching the reflections in the water, while Alexander stood nearby, enjoying the moment of silence. "Have you ever ridden a boat?" he asked, breaking away from the landscape. "Yes, but not so close to the mountains," Marina smiled. "It would be wonderful to try." "Then let us do it," Alexander replied. "I saw boats at the pier. We can rent one for an hour and just enjoy the water and the view." They went to the pier, chose a small rowboat, and began to paddle slowly across the lake. The water was clear, cold, but refreshing. Light mists rose around them, adding a romantic atmosphere. "Look at the mountains," Marina said, pointing to the peaks reflected in the water. "They are so majestic and at the same time, calm." "It is like a little paradise on earth," Alexander agreed, "and I am glad that we are here together." They laughed cheerfully as Marina accidentally splashed Alexander with water, and he, in turn, splashed her. The water sparkled in the sun, and both felt free and happy. After the boat ride, they returned the boat to the pier and walked through the streets to the old castle, which towered on a hill above the city. The old stone walls, towers, and narrow stairs created an atmosphere of history that could be felt by touch. "I want to climb the tower," Marina said, excitedly looking at the stairs. "Me too," Alexander replied, carefully supporting her during the ascent. When they reached the top, a panorama of the entire city and the lake opened before them. Marina took out her camera, trying to capture the moment. "This is incredible," she whispered, gazing into the distance. "It looks like time has stopped, and we have become part of this moment," Alexander said, gently taking her hand. They stood for a long time, watching as the sun gradually disappeared behind the mountain peaks and the city slowly lit up with nighttime lights. Marina felt that this journey was not only about beautiful landscapes, but also about new acquaintances, moments of joy, and closeness with a person who seemed to understand her without words. "I am glad that you came with me," Alexander said softly. "Me too," Marina replied, feeling warmth from his words. "This is the beginning of an unforgettable adventure." They descended to the city, wandered through the streets, stopping at small shops, buying souvenirs, chocolate, and little postcards. Every detail reminded them of this day, of their shared moments and new impressions. "I think tomorrow we should go to a mountain village," Marina said, showing the map. "There we can walk along the trails and enjoy true nature." "I agree, and perhaps we will find something unexpected as well." Returning to the hotel, they settled into their rooms, but both could not sleep for a long time, discussing plans for the next day. Marina felt that this journey would become one of the most important in her life, not only because of the beauty of Switzerland, but also because of the opportunity to share it with a new friend who seemed to understand her without words. "Good night, Marina." She heard Alexander's voice over a call from the hotel, checking if everything was all right. "Good night, Alexander. Tomorrow new adventures await us," she replied with a smile, closing her eyes. Tomorrow promised new discoveries, mountain trails, lakes, ancient villages, and little secret places that they would find together, and Marina felt that these moments would become memories for a lifetime.